Hello, scrappers, recyclers, and investors. Welcome to Shark Scrapper Live, where every week we talk about things that are going on in the precious metals market, industrial metal market, and stocks that revolve around scrapping and recycling in some fashion, sometimes loosely. It is great to be here. I'm looking forward to having an awesome hour with you. And our friend Scrapping Irish is back again. So when we get done with this hour, we're going to head right over the pond and join our friend Scrapping Irish in Ireland. Welcome to Scrapping Irish, Jake Hudson, Cruiser Mac, HH Recycling. That's right, recycling. Roger at CU Scrapping, Daniel Hughes, Andrew Powell. Andrew, you are coming in early today from New Zealand. That is awesome, my friend. Electronic Scrapper. It is great to have everybody here today. We've got some interesting stuff to talk about. So before we dive in, though, I want to share with you all. So my birthday was last week, and Mrs. Shark is extremely creative. She came up with this really cool birthday card. But, hey, Jose, great to have you here. But this isn't the best. Here, look at this. This card is awesome, right? So you open up the card and you've got all these sharks. It's like 3D, and that's really cool, right? But then here's the other part that's really cool. It also blinks and lights up and everything. I mean, my wife is just like amazing with these cards. I don't know where she finds these things. Anyway, I had to share that with y'all because, oops, wait a minute. Turn off. I said, there we go. Now it's off because I just thought that was just amazing. Roger CU Scrapping is still on his phone. So if you ask him a question, it might be a little bit slow responding. And if Roger's thumbs are anything like mine, there's no telling how the typing is going to come out. So just wanted to make that note. Chad Dar, welcome. Great to have you here from Alabama. Alabama, that's interesting. I don't think we've got anybody else from Alabama that comes in here. So welcome. Great to have you here. All right. So we're going to get right into it now. We're heading over to look at what's happening with gold. Now, I do want to remind everybody that I am not sponsored by APMEX. I just use APMEX, among other places, when I would buy and sell my physical gold and silver. And, they're a great place to buy gold and silver. I've never had any trouble with them whatsoever. So that's why I've got APMEX, and I use their charts just because I find them useful. However, if anybody from APMEX is listening in and you do want to sponsor me, I'll be happy to chat with you about that. Scrap it all. Welcome. Great to have you here. All right. So what's going on with gold? Here is our 24-hour. And we saw that gold was relatively flat at just over 2,000. And then here, wait a minute, let's take advantage of this. So we see that gold was kind of flat here. Then we had this little spike earlier, and then it's been sort of settling back out again. But we're still well over 2,000. So that's really good. And what's even better is that we've been holding over 2,000 now for, here's the 3-day, not a whole lot of activity, but a slight upward trend here. I don't know if you can see this, but there's this slight upward trend for the first part of the 3-day period. Then we get the spike and the falling off here. So why is this important? Here's the week. Now the week is down. Here we see from the beginning of the week to the end of the week, we're down, but we're still over 2,000. Why is that important? Because that allows companies like boardsort.com and other buyers of e-waste to say, okay, we can safely pay a little bit more for e-scrap. So it's good when gold hangs on like this. And here, when we look at the month, we started out down here at 1835. We're up over 2,000. So a real good month for gold. And it's a good time to get in, check your yard, see if they raise their prices for their e-waste, and then start doing some selling. So real nice opportunity here. Here's our 3-month, and we had this burble going on here, but we see the prices coming back up. And of course, I think we all understand, but just in case you're kind of new at this, trying to put the pieces together. The reason why gold took this real nice climb here is unfortunately because of Hamas invading Israel, adding another layer of confusion and complexity into the world markets. So you've got a strong U.S. economy that's kind of pushing gold down a little bit because interest rates are so high. People want to buy, bank assets and that kind of stuff. Then you have, on the other side of that coin, you have the war in Ukraine. Now you have Hamas attacking Israel, and Israel going in to take care of that situation. So whenever you have this kind of turmoil that's going on, turmoil causes many investors to go to safety. Gold is safety, and so we see gold prices start to go up. Now, gold is starting to settle out a little bit because investors are becoming have a little better handle on what's going to happen over, or at least feel that they have a little better understanding of what's going on between Hamas, Israel. It doesn't look like it's going to expand into other countries in the region. So there's a kind of a holding on gold. So gold is just sort of hanging steady right now. And, assuming that we don't have any other major activity, either with Israel, Hamas, or something's, bad between, say, China and Taiwan, gold is probably going to hang steady around this 2,000 mark for a while. And then the big influencers will become the economic news from the U.S. that rolls out over the next few months. So we're watching it, but I think my recommendation is, if you've got e-waste that you're planning to sell, if you sell it to Board Sort, go check them out, get the prices, get your stuff going. If you're selling to your local buyers, check with them, see what they've done with their prices. It's probably a good time to be selling your e-waste for the gold product out of it. And then, of course, while we're here, we're going to take a quick look at the 1 year. So here you see 1 year, a lot of activity with gold, a lot of fluctuations with ups and downs. And this is not terribly uncommon. We saw that there was this long downward kind of trend, and then here's this pickup that we've been talking about recently. Of course, it just wouldn't be fun if we didn't look at the total picture of gold. And, this is what I like to see here with this total picture of gold. From the mid-90s up till now, it's been trending up, good, strong up signal. And if you look at these spikes here, you see a nice up signal. So, yeah, overall, gold is a good place to have some investment. And I definitely recommend that you have at least some physical gold, if at all possible. So that's our take on gold. And I do want to emphasize that I am not a financial advisor. So this is, just my personal opinion on gold and the things that I do when I'm buying and selling either physical gold or e-waste that has gold in it. So, all right. So let's see what kind of comments were coming in while I was going on about gold here. It's always fun to go back and see all the comments. We got a bunch of people saying hello to each other. Andrew's got to get off to work, so take care, Andrew. We will see you later on. Appreciate you coming in as early as it is over there. Chad, he's got a small heating and AC company and was a non-ferrous material handler for a scrapyard in Tuscaloosa for 5 years. Awesome, Chad, man. It is great to have you here. And I'm looking forward to any comments that you may have on the videos that I put up throughout the week too, because you're going to have a really interesting perspective on these markets from your background. And I see some people are giving Scrapping Irish a hard time for telling everybody to hit the like button. Oh, that's funny. Oh, man. Patrick, welcome. Great to have you here. Let's see. Anybody else come aboard while we were all chatting here? Let's see. Big Vic 1111. How you doing, Big Vic? Great to have you here. Welcome to today's show. And here's E-Waste Mike popping in. Great to have you here, Mike. For those of you that don't know, Mike is settling into his new house and man, busy moving a lot of stuff down the street. So if you want to see what's involved when you pick up and move to a new house, just go check out Mike's channel because he's been busy at it. All right, so our safety note for today comes from an experience that I just had this week, as is usually the case, right? I have these things that go on during the week, and it's like, oh, yeah, that's going to be a good one to talk about. So we're going to be talking about slip and falls. And boy, howdy, is this an issue. Now, up north, winter is coming on. You guys are going to start getting your snow and your ice, and so you've got to be worried about that, especially if you're carrying any kind of load and you've got both your arms involved in carrying something and you're on the snow or the ice or something like that. Very easy to slip and go down. And then if you don't hurt yourself falling down, you can, whatever you're carrying could hurt you when you go down. I had a good friend who slipped on some ice and hit his elbow so bad that a bone chipped off, and he was working on that for years to try to get that fixed. It's just been really hard, just because of the way because he went down and hit his elbow and the damage that was done there. Now, you all know I'm in Northeast Florida. We haven't had any ice or anything, but I got a call to go do a pickup at a factory facility that was in transition. So the old company had moved out. The new company was coming in. The old company left a bunch of stuff behind. And so the real estate agent gave me a call and said, hey, we got a bunch of stuff here. We need to get rid of it. So can you come help us out? The outgoing company is a company that and I'll have a video out probably next week, not this week, about this place. The outgoing company is one of the companies that puts down the lane marker stripes on the roads. One of the products that they use a lot are glass beads for prepping the road surface. And scattered throughout their workshop area were these glass beads that had broken out of the bags or spilled on the deck or something like that. And I tell you what, those sometimes you couldn't see them because some of them were a dark gray color, just like they painted the deck, which made a lot of sense. Some of them were a whiter kind of color and they stood out more clearly. But I mean, that was like walking on ice. Those things were so slippery. And I, it's like, I wanted to sweep them up, but then I stopped and said, no, I don't want to be causing a lot of this dust because these are tiny little glass beads and I don't want to be, generating glass dust without having a respirator on. And so I had a good chance to talk to the incoming owners and, I made sure that they understood that this glass dust that's on the floor is going to need to get cleaned up. It's a safety hazard. and that they got to make sure that when they do this, they make sure that they bring somebody in that has the right kind of hazmat gear, because that could be really bad stuff. Of course, the other source of slip and fall potential that a lot of us deal with is oil and fluids from the stuff that we scrap. And that can be, those can be really risky too. So yeah, you got to really watch out for the slip and fall type injuries. Even if you don't hit anything on the way down, it's so easy to hurt yourself, to damage yourself when you go down like that, because you can it just the pain points of falling are just very numerous, right? And then of course, if you're a veteran like I am, with a lot of metal parts inside of you, bending those metal parts in the wrong directions is also not a really good thing to do. So I'm always extremely careful, because with two artificial hips, if I go down the wrong way, it's going to get ugh, ugh, ugh. All right, so what kind of slip and fall thoughts, comments, and concerns do you all have? HH Recycling is saying, coming on, it's been here for weeks. Well, yeah, where you are, way up there. Down south, all the oils that come out of everything that we scrap is very slippery. Be careful, try to wipe everything. Yeah, absolutely. Even though I don't have, I'm not a machine shop or anything like that, I always keep a bucket of either kitty litter or the chemical absorbent material at the ready, because just never know when something's going to leak out of an engine that I'm taking apart, because I don't get a lot of them, but I get motors every now and then, and sometimes they're leaking oil and things like that. So yeah, really, really important to keep that kind of stuff around so you can clean up those spills. And even when you wipe up the spill, the surface can still be slick. And that's one of the reasons why those spill containment things, kitty litter works really well for that, but they also have special stuff that you can buy, from the hardware stores. They actually pull up that oil a lot better so that the surface is not as slippery when you get done. So let's see, Chad Dar, what do y'all do with iTunes, your glass that pile up? Okay, what do you do with all the glass that you pile up? Got it, now I understand. HH Recycling is saying that he recycles his. I recycle that. I recycle what I can. We have our curbside recycling that takes certain types of, consumer type kind of glass. Other types of glass I will take to the transfer station when I can. But even they get a little bit flighty sometimes, and unfortunately, a lot of it ends up in the trash. Let's see, that's right. I mean, HH Recycler is saying that's the first time the shark and hip were used in the same sentence. Yeah, might be, man. Yeah, hipster shark. Yeah, there you go. There you go. Cruiser Mac is saying he crashed on the last steps to the basement a couple of weeks ago. He was scared to move for about 5 minutes. Oh my God. You know what, Cruiser? I can hear you. I've been down that road when I lived on Cape Cod. We had an ice storm, ice and snow, and we had our new puppy, and I was taking the new puppy out in the morning to do her business. And I stepped on I went to take that first step down, and it was ice, and I went down on the stairs, and I didn't want to fall on the puppy. So I rotated my body so that the puppy was up on my chest. And then I basically hit, full back, like a back flop onto those stairs. The puppy was fine. She's just looking at me like, hey, that was fun, Dad. Can we do it again? But I laid there for a good 5 or 6 minutes, like you're talking about, just to make sure that I could feel my toes and everything would wiggle, and and then slowly. And then my wife saw me, and so she came running out to make sure I was okay. Unfortunately, she didn't go down on the stairs, but she went down on the ice that was on the deck. So yeah, it was funny, but not funny. HH wants to know if there was whiskey involved, and Cruiser says no, but there was some required afterwards. Yes, I'm quite certain that would be the case. All right, well, let's get on over to our industrial metal for today. Yeah, oh man. All right, so as you can see from the scroll and from the title, we are. Oh wait, but we got one more here about slip and falls. Wow, I just had nice one 18 days ago. Slipped on a flatbed. Now I need. Oh no way, man! Really? Oh man, that sucks, dude. That's painful. Man, that's tough. All I can, so I can tell you, having had both my hips replaced, that the surgery and the recovery is not terrible these days. It's gotten much better. But having said that, that's because my hips were replaced due to basically in arthritis kind of things. So I didn't break my hip, but they just had to replace the joint part. And if you broke your hip and they have to, pin it all together and replace it, that's going to be rough. So, man, and I'm glad you've got good insurance, man. Yeah, ouch. Hang in there, man. Keep us posted on your surgery and your recovery. Okay, let's get back to copper. So here's copper. Boy, we have not been enjoying copper these days, have we? I mean, holy cow. But there's a tiny little bit of potential good news here when we look at copper. So the first thing, yeah, you're looking at these prices and you're saying, there's no good news there, Shark. What are you talking about? So by the way, this is the Kitco website. And I'm also not sponsored by Kitco. They are another one of the sites that I have used for trading my physical metals. They have a lot more advertising than APMEX does. So let's see, let's get rid of this one. So we'll get rid of you, and we'll get rid of you, and we'll get back to business here. So if you look at the 30-day copper spot, so we had this blurb go on here, but for the most part, the 30-day was relatively stable. And, you'd much rather see it stable than going down, right? So, that one's, that's part of the good news, that it's stable right now, right? So the 60-day, we see it kind of on the 60-day chart. We saw that it dropped here, and then there was the stable part that we were just talking about. So we don't like to see the down for anything. The 6-month copper, there's a lot of going on here with this, but really this is a relatively stable chart. You got some ups and downs moving around that, a basic line here. Those prices being kind of stable, at least you can sort of get settled into what to expect from your yard. 1 year, yeah, look at that. That's just, we had a little bit of a hope in the beginning of the year, and then it's just been, coming down here. So it's like not a good thing there. 5 year, well, we're up for the 5 year, but we had a real nice run here. Now we're down in here. So that's, yeah. So what is the good news that I'm talking about? Look at this 30-day COMEX, copper warehouse levels down, going down. 60-day COMEX warehouse levels going down. Here's the London Metal Exchange 30-day. Look at this. Look at this dropping off here near the end. So it was starting to climb. We don't like that, but now it's dropping down. We like to see the inventory levels dropping down. That means that industry is starting to consume more than is going in. So here's this drop. That's what we want to see. We don't like this part that preceded it. So we want this drop to continue because that's going to allow the prices to kind of start inching back up again. All right, now let's get real though. This is just the beginning of a little drop here. And if you look at the 6-month London Metal Exchange warehouse stock levels, you see that it's not a lot of drop, right? We've been down much lower just in the 6-month period. So we really need to consume a bunch of this. And this just might be a momentary adjustment going on and it may not have a lot of long-term impact, but at least for right now, it's a good sign. If we look at the 1-year London Metal Exchange, we see that we had this big climb up here. The year was kind of going ups and down and up and down, and then boom, just really started filling up those warehouses. That means that production was more than consumption, so the warehouse levels were increasing. And when we look at the 5-year, what are we seeing here? Well, let's do this. These peaks in the 5-year have a general downward trend. That's a good thing because that means that even when they do stock up, they're stocking up less over time. So, and when we look at the troughs or the bottoms, we also see a downward trend, which means that the lows are even getting lower. So we've got this potential here that as we shift from a China-dominated copper cycle to an electrification-dominated cycle, that we could see more copper consumed, which would drive the inventory down, which would increase the prices. Now, let's take a step back, though, and ask ourselves about the news that we've been seeing about electrification. In the EV world, here in the United States, we've had a number of the automobile companies that are saying things like, we're not going to open up this EV plant as fast as we thought we were. We're not selling EVs as fast as we had been. We're still selling them, but it's slowing down a little bit. So there's a little bit of the consumer demand isn't quite catching up yet the way we need to for EVs. And there's a lot of infrastructure that still needs to go in place. Hey, the Stock Explorer, great to see you. There's still a lot of infrastructure that needs to go in place to fully support the EV world. So there's still a lot of moving parts. And as we've discussed previously, there are essentially two major influences in the copper market, especially. That's the economy in China and then the electrification of the rest of the world. And as China did not open or fully recover economically from the pandemic the way everybody thought they were, they did not consume copper as much as people were expecting. So that kind of held down the consumption, caused the prices to go down a bit. The EV world is picking up a little bit slower than folks were expecting. So you've got these two big potential influences on the price of copper, and neither one of them has really grabbed hold yet to drive that price the way we would like to see it driven as recyclers. So there's going to be some some volatility ahead here for copper, but this is what we have to live through right now. Now, I still am a firm believer that the long-term trend of electrification is going to continue, albeit slower than what many people would like or expect. But it is still going to proceed, and that is going to have long-term goodness for the copper prices for us. So if you are collecting copper, there's a part of me that says, sell when those prices go up. And this is not a good time to be selling because the prices are down. But a lot of times you don't have any choice because you need to meet your cash flow. And I'm also, just like with stocks, I'm not a firm believer in trying to catch that high, because if you're playing the game of trying to catch the high, you're never going to hit it. And sometimes you're going to miss completely, right, when you play that game. So my recommendation, and the way that I'm playing this right now is, and I have said this every time I talk about copper, so this is nothing new for a lot of you, keep some of your copper behind, some of your higher quality copper. I'm keeping most of my Bear Bright and my number one as my strategic reserve. And then you sell the lower grades of copper, your insulated copper wire, your number two, in order to meet your cash flow requirements. That way you're sort of hedging a little bit, if you will. You're keeping some copper behind so that you can take advantage of those higher prices when they come in, but you're still satisfying cash flow that you need to have ongoing. Now, if you're a hobbyist and you don't need the cash flow and you have the space, then you can save all the copper you want. And the nice thing about copper is it's heavy, and so you can save up quite a bit of it in a relatively small amount of space. But if you're in the business of scrapping and recycling, then you need to keep your cash flow moving. And that means you got to sell stuff even when you think the prices are going to be better somewhere down the line. So that's why I'm sticking by this recommendation of holding some of your better copper behind, selling your lower grade coppers to meet your cash flow. Really interested to see what you all think about that. So let's head on back over to the comments here. We have somebody, I don't recognize the name from previous live streams. So Stock Explorer, welcome. Great to have you here. Chad Dar is saying electric car market, what's bad is it slowing down? Yeah, so it's slowing down. It's not like it's dying. It's just they're not selling them as fast as they had been before. But having said that, I have a group of business people that I meet with every week, and the guy that has a big Ford dealership in town, he's saying, I got to sell some electric cars. I got a bunch of them coming in. So, they're still coming into the lots. They're still there for people. So Chad's commenting that there should be more metal because of the war. Well, it's going to be sort of a lag because the industries that make the machinery of war, they can only build up so fast. So yeah, there's going to be this long demand signal for metals to support those industries, but the plants themselves can only spin up to a certain level, in a certain amount of time. When I was working in the defense industry, it was a very common thing that we had to talk about, that we had to understand, and that was how quickly could we increase production. And we used to have these conversations with the government contracting officers a lot. And then there was always the balance of if we put in, at that time we were operating 2 shifts. So, and we could potentially go up to 4 shifts. So there was always the issue of how much could we push out if we went to 3 shifts, if we went to 4 shifts. What would be the change in cost of the items. And these things were all written into the contract. So it was just, understanding the contracting behind it. But then another part of the challenge was being able to find the labor that was necessary to bring on a third or a fourth shift. Because you didn't just, you couldn't just pull people off of the street to be making some of this stuff. And that, that company that I was working for, it was a relatively sophisticated devices we were making, but they, they didn't. We had the production line set up so that we could teach pretty much anybody with a high school education how to do their part in the line. The problem was just the number of people that we were able to draw from in the working pool. So yeah, the demand will be there, and that's a good thing for us, but it's not going to be anything near-term impact going on. Cruiser Max says he's going to be hoarding until spring. Yeah, well, that's kind of seasonally induced for you, isn't it, man? I wouldn't want to be driving some of those roads that you have to drive to during the winter. Nope. Chad says he thinks it's going to be stable for 6 months. Very well. Hey, Raphael, great to see you there, man. Welcome aboard. E-Waste Mike, my yard dropped 10 cents on Bear Bright in the last 2 weeks. Oh, that's unfortunate. My yard had dropped prices a couple weeks ago, but have been steady since then. Yeah, we'll be seeing what happens there. Let's see. Raphael saying hi to folks. Yeah, man, no kidding. Those are some man, I don't know if any of you have ever watched Cruiser's videos when he makes the trip to the scrap yards. Some beautiful scenery, but boy, he's got to drive. Holy cow. All right, so it is time now to move on to the next phase of our discussion for this week. And we still have another comment here. HH is saying that he's still hoarding. Yeah, because the prices suck. Yeah. Yep, got it, man. All right, so our next part is the business note for the day. This one has a couple of layers to it. But when you do this as a business, and depending upon what level you do it as a hobby, you want to avail yourself of groups and organizations that are out there, so that you can learn from other people, so that you can stay engaged with what's happening. Now, in this day and age, there are lots of opportunities to do that through YouTube and Instagram and Facebook and those kind of places, so that there's group, and there's plenty of Facebook. You've got Facebook groups for precious metals and scrappers and recyclers. And the hard part becomes finding a group that actually knows what they're talking about, and that isn't just a bunch of people, especially in the scrapping and recycling world, a bunch of people that are just trying to one-up each other, which is very prevalent in a lot of these groups. They're so busy trying to say, I got more of this than you did, or something like that, that they're not actually helping each other and exchanging information and ideas and concepts that can be useful. So lots of groups like that. Then there's also real organizations out there. So this year I joined a group called ISRI. It's the Institute of Scrap and Recycling Industries. As a full-up legitimate recycling business, there was no reason to preclude my membership, even though I'm probably one of the smallest members that they have in ISRI. But it's a really interesting group to be a part of. They have weekly seminars. They have a lot of online information that I can take advantage of. The webinars are free as a member for me to just join and listen to what's going on. And I've been able to sit in on some really interesting webinars as the ISRI people interview either government representatives or big industry representatives about things that are happening. So, for instance, the U.S. government has been putting a bunch of money to helping industries solve or prepare for the lithium-ion battery challenge that we're going to be faced with. And so I've been able to sit in on a couple of webinars where the government was first explaining, here's the money that's coming out, here's how you apply for the money, here's the constraints for getting access to this money, here's the decision points and the grading points, trying to make it as level a playing field as possible for folks out there to apply for these cost sharing and grants that are out there. Then there was another discussion where industry representatives were talking about the challenges associated with lithium ion and lithium ion batteries and how do you recycle them and the different chemistries. Just transporting them has its whole raft of environmental and safety challenges. So really interesting. And that's just one of many kind of discussions that this group has. They also have in-person conferences. So next week, I'm going to the Southeast Region Conference, where I will meet people from scrap yards all throughout the Southeast of the United States and companies that provide the equipment and resources that you need to run these scrap yards. So the companies that make the big claws and the shredders and the belts and those kind of things. I think it's just going to be a fascinating opportunity to meet these people, to talk with them, to see what's going on. And then, of course, I've already set up a meeting with one of the owners of the big recycling yard in the town of North Carolina that I'm going to be relocating to, so that we can lock down a little bit more what our business relationship is going to be like. So it's going to be a really interesting meeting next week. There's other organizations, though, that aren't exactly scrap related that I go to, and that some of you might be interested in as well. So you can see I've got this vid summit over here. That's an annual event for people that are YouTube creators, primarily YouTube creators. And it's where I learn a lot of stuff about YouTube and how to try to do better at videos. And, it was 2 years ago at Vid Summit that the folks from StreamYard talked to me about going live, which, I started doing that this year. So it's these kind of conferences and events, whether they're in person or the kind of thing that you do online webinars for and those kind of things, that really help all of us to be better at what we're doing. So what I would encourage all of you to do is, just look out there and see what's available that would be of interest to you. Maybe it's the online groups that you can join. Most of them are free. Most of them, all you got to do is prove that you're a living, breathing human being and not a robot. Sometimes not even that. But you just have to be judicious and remember that usually you get what you pay for with a lot of this stuff. So there's a lot of places to get out there and share and learn and be a part of a group of people. Because the reality is, if we're only learning from ourselves, we're never going to get any smarter. And so whenever we inject ourselves into a group of other people, we have the opportunity to get smarter from the folks that are around us. All right, so let's see. We've had some comments pop up here that I need to catch up with. So what do folks have to say here? You can check out stator winder pullers. Yeah, I'll definitely be, talking to folks about all kinds of equipment that could help me out a lot because, with the right kind of equipment, stuff that right now I either can't scrap or takes too much time the way I could scrap it, could become a viable thing for me to go after. And depending upon, the investment and stuff, it could be something that would be worth doing. So Let's see. E-Waste Joe, this is an international conglomerate of misfit. Oh. So we're all the best scrappers. That's what she meant, best. So we're all the best scrappers, just removed from the. Oh man, that's funny. Raphael is saying, would like to buy myself tiny copper cable shredder with the shaker separator. Oh yeah, but there really isn't that many machines on the market. Yeah, especially for small ones. Yeah, there's some big knocking machines like that. Yeah, those are definitely those are interesting. And I've been looking at that too because it's like there's a part of me that wants to be able to do a better job with stripping. I made the investment for the Strip Meister, and I got one of their higher end units. And I really like that Strip Meister. And if you're interested in it, there should be a link down in the description with this video when it comes out to Strip Meister. I liked it to the point where I asked them if I could be an affiliate, so they made me an affiliate. That simplifies the challenge of stripping wire, and it allows me to strip cable that was pretty big. That is pretty big, bigger than what I was able to do before. But, and to Raphael's point, now you've got these big knocking chunks or lengths of heavy copper or aluminum wire. It'd be really nice if there was a way to consolidate that. And if you could get those shredded down and they would take up less space and those kind of things. You still need to be able to sell the copper or the aluminum, but if you get them shredded up, you're going to have less volume involved, which can be helpful, because when you're talking about storing lengths of cable, they take up a lot of space, right? So if you can shred them down, granulate them, they're going to take up less space. Now, the trade-off becomes you have to pay for the machine, and then you have to make enough money because you now have this shredded smaller copper that you can pay for the machine, pay for the electricity, the maintenance on the machine. So you do need to make sure that the machine is going to be a profitable moneymaker for you. And that's an interesting trade that you have to look at. Now, again, if you're a hobbyist and you're just doing this for the fun and that's an easier way for you to do it, then the profitability of the machine is less important. Raphael was the same with strippers a few years ago, so I hope they'll come out. Yeah, it was not that long ago. It was hard to find a decent wire stripper that was reasonably priced and had capability for new companies or hobbyists, and now they're all over the place. So, well, not all over the place, but kind of all over the place. So, yeah, hopefully there will be something coming out. Cruiser Mac is saying a demolition guy I know is looking at buying a copper granulator. The yard pays the highest price per pound for granulated as well. Yeah, so, and that's that could be the thing, right? And I guess it's because it's easier for a yard to make sure that the granulated copper is good copper and not contaminated with a bunch of other stuff. And if you have a granulator, well, you're gonna have good high grade copper coming out of it if you're running it properly. So it's definitely something to look into, but I also encourage you to be careful and run the math to make sure that you're going to be actually increasing your profit from the granulator. Okay, well, a small one is about 10,000. If there's a hobbyist out there that can afford a $10,000 device, boy howdy. But if you're in the business of doing it, then, it probably makes a bit more sense. So, yeah. So, and then the point is you need to have the volume, right? You got to feed the beast, because if you're not feeding the beast, then you're losing money on the beast. So definitely need to think that one through carefully. All righty. Well, our oh, hey, Cruiser, Irish wants you to get him too. Oh man. I don't know if he means 2 granulators, but hey, Irish, you're going to have to send him a whole lot of ISSs to cover that, buddy. All right, so it's on to our stock. Hey, David Young, welcome. So today's stocks, we're actually going to talk about 2. The first one is, there's some interest to it that I wanted to bring up, because this particular company we're talking about, Microsoft here. Let's just go right over to Microsoft here. So the reason why I wanted to talk about Microsoft, let me get my Epic pen out of the way here, is because Microsoft recently acquired Activision Blizzard. So they made this big purchase to expand their market. It took them a long time. There was a lot of legal back and forth over it, but it's finally been approved and it's been done. I think everybody knows that Microsoft is the largest independent maker of software. So it develops and sells software products for a wide range of consumer and enterprise markets. It also makes hardware, including the Xbox video game consoles and Surface laptops. So it's if anybody doesn't know about Microsoft, you've been underneath a rock for a long time here. But here's the things that I wanted to point out about Microsoft. They do pay a dividend, but that's a pretty puny dividend at 0.9%. And it's on $329, almost $330 a share. So you've got to have some pretty good cha-ching to buy into Microsoft in the first place. But unlike a lot of the companies that we routinely look at, Microsoft is qualified as cash flow per share and dividends per share. So if you look across their 17-year history, their cash flow per share, they only had this one down year here. And on their dividends per share, they only had this one flat year here. So other than that, 17 years of increasing cash flow per share, and 17 years of increasing dividends per share. Now, granted, they're not huge dividends, but they are at least, in our qualified ranking. When we look at that graphically, we can see that's a real nice, clean picture. It was trending up for a while here. Here, let's do this. So it was trending up for a while, and then the slope got even steeper. When's the best time to have bought stock? Well, a long time ago, of course. And then if you look at the dividends, you can see that the dividends have been going up as well, which is also really nice. So the analysis from the folks at the Value Line Investment Survey, and that's where I get all of my data from, this data from. And remember, Value Line does not accept any advertising, so this is all just straight numbers and unbiased evaluation of those numbers and news. So in October, Microsoft completed their acquisition of Activision Blizzard. The video game maker will add depth to Microsoft's gaming content. And for the first quarter, gaming revenue rose 9%. And that's mostly thanks to robust growth in the Xbox Game Pass and first-party content. And gaming, they're expecting that the revenue from gaming should increase throughout the year. Microsoft is considered a timely share with broad market appeal, a top rank for safety, and strong scores for price, growth, persistence, and financial strength. So what that means is, yeah, it's going to cost a lot to buy in, but you're probably not going to lose your investment. And you have a good potential for this to keep going up. Again, I want to emphasize, I am not a financial counselor. I am not licensed to provide financial advice. This is a process that I use when I'm looking at stocks. And I just like to share this information with all of you. If you are going to buy any stocks, I would encourage you to do your due diligence first and talk with somebody who knows what the potential implications are to your taxes, to your future, to your investment goals. Now, the other stock that I want to talk about was a user request from last week. I was asked about Micron Technology. Micron Technology gets evaluated in issue 7, and the Value Line survey has 13 issues that then rotate around. So we were just on, this week was issue 13. So that means that it was 6 weeks ago that Micron was last analyzed. And it'll be a few weeks before it's analyzed again or reported on again. But here's the information on Micron as of late September. So here's where we were as of late September. They have a dividend yield of 0.7%, and that was on $70.03. Hey, Earl, great to see you here. They are not qualified for anything by my criteria. So you can see that throughout their history, their cash flow per share, the earnings per share have been all over the place. And they just recently started paying dividends. Back in 2021 was the first year they started paying dividends. So they don't have a long history of paying dividends. And even then, going 23 into 24, they're not expected to increase their dividends. So here's what this looks like graphically. Look at that. The cash flow and the earnings are all over the place. That dividend line is all along zero except right up here. So whoever asked about Micron, I hope you have a strong stomach, because they're going to be all over the place. In fact, here's what the folks at Value Line have to say. Shares of Micron have fallen a notch in timeliness since our June review. As such, they are expected to underperform the broader market in the coming 6 to 12 months. So, that's where we're seeing. They do have solid long-term recovery potential, but share price volatility is likely in the near term. So, if you want to play, if you're planning on playing this out for the long term, then it might be something to think about. But Micron would not be a company that I would even begin looking at. Now, again, I'm a very boring investor. I want dividends. I want reasonably stable and good dividends. So for me, I would not look at Micron as a place that I would put my money. However, there are lots of different reasons that people invest. Dividends isn't the only reason to invest in companies out there. There's lots of other reasons why people put money into it. I promised that I would take a look at it. If it was in the Value Line survey, it was. So there's the information. Good, bad, or ugly, there it is. Copperbuck Recycling, welcome. I didn't say hello yet. Great to have you here, man. E-Waste Joe was saying, yeah, you know, I've been looking at. I actually would like to get out there sometime to meet those folks and talk more about their ball mill crushers and shaker tables. I think it's some interesting stuff, and I would love to learn more about that. I love watching their videos, but you know, that's an interesting one too. I haven't seen them listed. I don't think they're going to be at this event because they're more of a mining kind of thing and not so much a scrapping and recycling thing. So hey, Irish E-Waste Joe wants to hear about your the tale about your salty tale about a visit with Ian. Okay, folks. So it has been a fun hour with you, and we've talked about a bunch of interesting stuff. I greatly appreciate everybody's thoughts and comments as we went along. And it is now time for us to journey across the pond to Ireland. If you have autoplay enabled, when I stop this stream, you will automatically be taken over to Scrapping Irish's live stream, which is starting up. If you do not have autoplay enabled, then I encourage you to go on YouTube, look for Scrapping Irish, and come join us on his side of the pond, where we will have more discussion. It tends to be a bit more free form. You never know who's going to pop up in the panel, and you never know where the questions are going to take us, because he just likes to ask really broad questions, and you know, you just hang one for the ride. So I encourage everybody to head on over there. I look forward to seeing you there. Have a safe week, and watch out for those slip and falls. Take care, everybody.